that we will be supporting her report. The European Union is right to hold at its disposal a tough set of political and economic instruments which can be used against regimes around the world which violate the human rights of their people. But the European Union must be very careful when it comes to imposing political and economic sanctions. The EU is the largest contributor to overseas development aid, but it must act with wisdom and prudence when it comes to sanctions. The effect of sanctions in Zimbabwe and Sudan and Burma, to name but 3 countries, has been very detrimental on ordinary people in those countries. So we must try and make sure that it does not affect the poorest and most oppressed in these countries, but it attacks and gets after the people who are leading these countries. Some people have mentioned Cuba. I cannot understand why we have sanctions on Cuba. Cuba should be returned to normal trading, and in 10 years' time Cuba would be a radically different country if we did that instead of this ridiculous sanctions on the place. We must be careful, as I said, when imposing sanctions and imposing economic and political sanctions. They must be targeted at those who are in charge. Let's target their financial affairs which are happening abroad, or their travel situation. Sanctions can be useful, but they are limited, and especially if they are only being used by European Union countries. UN sanctions are far stronger and can be far more effective. I support this report, but I do think that sanctions are limited, but they can be effective, but we also must use prudence and wisdom when we implement them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pafidis, 1 minute.
Now, this report on human rights is talking about using one of the worst possible instruments, that is sanctions, against peoples and